So I'm Iain Stewart, I'm Professor of Geoscience Communication at Plymouth University, but I also do a lot of science broadcasting on geology with BBC Science, so I make science documentaries. I think I'd be a teacher if I wasn't a geologist. I think after my PhD I got a little bit frustrated that I wasn't really being of much use, and I remember all my friends were going to have to be teachers, and I think I just was going to do it. And I think I would have enjoyed it, but what I enjoy, whether it's lecturing, presenting, or anything, is the performance. And so I think I would have liked teaching, but I think, you know, what I do now is just perfect. My best geology fact. I told my kid the other day that limestone made toothpaste. She wasn't very interested in that, so that's not a good one, I don't think. There's earthquakes on Mars, or Mars quakes, and moon quakes, and things like that. It's these sort of things tucked away in the nooks and crannies of the edge of it that's really kind of useful. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm struggling now. Whoa, why did I become a scientist? Why did I become a scientist? I don't know that I ever thought that. It was a kind of just a gentle swing in. I was interested in geography at school. It's not very science, it's kind of soft science. And then when I went to uni, I got more interested in geology, and I kind of moved across. And so then suddenly I was into more science areas. But I'm really interested in that process of science and trying to get that across to people. So that it's the diversity of science that's fantastic. The key to effective science communication, I think it's engaging. I think it's entertaining. I think you have to make a connection with your audience.
I was just saying stones are boring, but that one actually looks quite interesting.
And you have to surprise them, really. And by and large, it's your enthusiasm that carries it. I think from the point of view of how you package that, I think it's important to think of what you've got to say not as specific statements or information, facts, if you like. You need to think of it as stories and create a narrative, because everyone loves the good stories and they kind of buy into that. And I think if you just put that together, you're already on your way to being a communicator.
So the point is, of course, yes, the rock is extremely boring, but the story that the rocks tell is hugely interesting, and I would argue is as good as almost anything else that we can tell.
I think the biggest one for me was the first one. It always says the one that kind of breaks you in, which is a program called Journeys from the Centre of the Earth. But I think the first one that was really wide in terms of kind of viewers, etc., was something called Earth, the Power of the Planet. You almost need the drum roll there. And it was this big, all singing, all dancing program about how the planet's connected. It was about oceans and the land and the atmosphere and things. And that's the one that gets used lots in schools and really, I guess, brought us to kind of public attention. My best interview, I think, is when I'm in there with students and I'm trying to tell them something that is really important to me, and then they suddenly click, they get it, and you can see it in their eyes, and they say they're excited, and for a moment they're in the same place as what you were, and that's fantastic. I think I'd like to have known about the internet, actually. It kind of struck me. I kept on hearing about this thing, and email and all the rest of it, about 5 years or 10 years after everyone else. I'd like to have known about that, so I got into it earlier. I think the other thing I would have liked to have known is that people, I mean, this is a more general one, by and large are on your side. I think that when you're starting out, you kind of think that everyone's going to be super critical and you're going to have to really do your best to kind of convince them and all this. But by and large, my experience has been that people are pretty much always on your side, and that they're kind of broadly trying to help you along. And I've certainly had, you know, it's always been really good. And I think that idea of completely trusting people is probably, I've never had a plan to what I'm doing. I've always just gone with it, and it's kind of worked for me. And so now looking back, I kind of realise that that's a perfectly reasonable way to do it. I think a lot of other people kind of think, I need to have strategy, you know, I need to impress this person. And actually, I think just kind of loosen up a little bit with it. I would go to Patagonia, to an island called the Madre de Dios, the Mother of God Islands. And I would go and see, it's the fastest uplifting area of limestone. It's got amazing cave systems, and every time I look at it, I just think it looks so cool. And every series I do, I put on number 1, Madre de Dios Island, Patagonia, and every year it falls out because it's too far or something like that. So that's the one I'd go for.